Starting right off. We're just starting right off. Just. Hey, John. John.
Take your jacket off.
Where's the mayor? Where's the mayor? Right there. Dan Bryan, how are you? I'm going to put his remarks under yours, okay? Are these yours?
No, I was not on the.
They're somebody's.
Yeah.
It's blown up.
Yeah, everyone knows. Folks that did it, man.
Oh, yeah, yeah. My nine Camerano said
You're bringing it from Massachusetts. The last time we had weather like that.
That's part of the issue. Pile up.
And I remember northeast.
You good, pal?
I get to introduce you to
What a treat.
Georgia 44, Senior Vice President with Awesome. Honored. How are you? Nice to see you. How are you? Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Assemblyman John McKeon, and it is my privilege to introduce some of those that are here with us as dignitaries today. I'm going to start off with our Governor and Senator Richard Cody. Dick, the best partner anybody could ever have in the state legislature, Assemblywoman Myla Jacey. And, of course, the host in this amazing community, Mayor Bob Connolly. Mayor Connolly. And Councilwoman Astrid Bailey, as well as Councilman John Hoover. And very special guest. I don't know where they may have moved to, but it happens to be that Madison is in negotiations with a beautiful town in the state of Israel to become a sister city. And so with us today, Mayor Connolly is joined by Mayor Mufid Marie from Horsefish, Israel. And also members of that Druze delegation. So, Governor, I haven't seen you since the budget address, but really congratulations on what was an inspirational message. Delivered before a cabinet that was reflective of the great, rich diversity of this state, New Jersey is going to be returned to its leadership role, whether it's about environmental policies to combat global warming, the promulgation of green jobs, the restoration of funding to women's health, equal pay, taking the minimum wage from a level to a livable wage, support for our schools, STEM education, affordability, which is a code word for access for all to college and to health care, and reclaiming the innovative tech jobs to come back to our state. And all at the same time giving JCP&L a big boot in the rear end. And Governor, they probably thought they had a little longer to get it right. So we'll see what happens in the next 24 hours, but I know you'll be there watching for the great people of our state. But of course, the part of that speech and that budget message we're here to talk about and celebrate today has to do with transportation. You know, Madison, as I mentioned, has just this incredible, rich history. And Governor Cody, you'll appreciate this. Madison was a rural community, and believe it or not, 1855, that people that worked in Orange and Newark would take the train from Madison to get to those, hubs where the jobs were. So Madison went, going back 170 years ago, from a small rural community to the community it's become today. And obviously there's hundreds of communities like Madison up and down the various rail lines throughout our state that will tell the same story, although a lot of the commutation now goes, of course, into New York. So at this point, 170 years later, New Jersey Transit moves over 1 million individuals a day, 600,000 New Jersey commuters. Now, my colleague, Senator Gordon, and I were pleased for the last year and a half to run and chair or co-chair a bicameral, bipartisan committee that looked into all having to do with New Jersey Transit. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into the facts and details of what was uncovered. I think that's been well chronicled at this point. But I will mention, some of the real human tolls. I know the things that all of us, whether we're local representatives, state representatives, or even the governor here, that really mean things. We heard about how many people are just chronically late for work, about the missed business meetings, the missed interviews, the missed sales calls, individuals who are hourly wage earners who really missed pay. And even maybe worse or just as bad is on the way home. The volunteer coaches who missed so many games, the dad who told me the story that he didn't see his daughter sworn into the National Honor Society because his NJTRANSIT train was late. The cell phones of moms and dads to daycare saying, I'll get there, just hold my child for that much longer. The family dinners disrupted, the needless stress. Well, this is what our governor has inherited. Now, Governor Murphy, you've been here for just about 60 days. Let me go 60 days into our last governor, when Chris Christie, 60 days into his term, what he did. He cut NJTRANSIT by $62 million. He increased fares by 25% and reduced services. And it didn't get better over the next 8 years. Chronic underfunding, shifting from capital to operations, the political cronies that once Bridgegate broke, too much heat was at the Port Authority, so they all got dumped at NJTRANSIT, and fares continued to go up. Yeah, well, as Nero fiddled, Rome burned. Now, I'm not going to quite say you're Caesar, not yet. But when it comes to it, Phil Murphy has been our governor now for just 60 days. And he's going to, in a moment, chronicle all that he's done and all that he will do. So, ladies and gentlemen, the leader who will restore New Jersey Transit to the premier commuter line in this country, the Honorable Phil Murphy.
Come on, pal. That's as good as it gets, buddy. Thank you. Thank you. That is as good as it gets. I was wondering when you mentioned 1855 whether or not you were going to acknowledge that perhaps is when you and Cody were first elected. It didn't go the way I thought. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Madison and this historical station. And Bob, thank you so much for hosting us so graciously. Before we get to the topic of the day, it's hard to believe, but I got to talk to you about weather. I want to take a moment to discuss our preparations for the latest batch of winter weather heading into our region, and if anything, our concerns have somewhat intensified. We've been in constant communications with the National Weather Service, as we have for each of the prior storms. Someone said, it's not, if you're wondering, is March the new February? I think the answer is yes, by the way. There is the potential for significant snow accumulations across our state for the next 24 to 36 hours between our state police, the Office of Emergency Management, the Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness, the Department of Transportation, and the rest of the cabinet, probably nowhere more importantly in DOT, and Diane will be up in a few minutes. We are closely watching the situation, and we have the personnel and equipment ready to move to get us through this. I should also say the BPU is center stage, as are all of the public utilities. We saw in the last couple of storms the biggest shortfall was the performance by the utilities, particularly in JCP&L's area. I believe that we've been in touch with them all day. I believe it is true that each of them have activated their mutual aid arrangements. In other words, their ability to bring in line men and women from other utilities and other workers to bolster from other states. I think JCP&L has said that they have activated 800 people to come in, and God knows we certainly hope that that is sufficient. We are considering, and I'm saying considering, we're not announcing this now, a whole range of measures, including a potential emergency declaration for later on this evening. If that happens, it's probably at the current rate of the storm, it would be around midnight. Again, I do want to caution all New Jerseyans to practice common sense and caution. Please take it easy on this evening's commute. It's not by the way, these are two systems, one of which is coming tonight, which is the lesser of the two, the other in the morning, based again on our current projections. Tonight, it's possible the commute will be dry, but it's also possible that there will be slippery conditions. So please use common sense and caution. Let's make sure at least tonight everyone gets home safe. And again, we have the benefit of daylight savings, which we didn't have for the last two, so we've got more daylight, but it is possible the conditions could be slippery in areas. Once the second storm arrives tomorrow, and by the way, that is the one, to reiterate, that has the most potential impact, please do not head out into the snow unless you absolutely have to. Please give the local, county, and state crews the chance to work unimpeded to get our roads and highways clear. We also, if this weren't enough, have the possibility, again, of the combination of gusty winds and wet snow, which could bring down power lines, which is why the BPU and our front office have been so intensely engaging with the utilities. If you experience an outage, please report it immediately to anybody you can find, but importantly, your utility company. Don't assume your neighbor or somebody else is going to report it for you. And please, God, if you see a downed line, stay clear and report it so it can be handled by experts. We had 2 fatalities in the last double storm. One person who touched a line, another one whose car went over it and was incinerated. Regular updates, weather updates, and safety information will be posted by the Office of Emergency Management on their website, ready.nj.gov, and on their social media channels as well. They are on Facebook at Ready New Jersey and Twitter and Instagram at ReadyNJ. Also, I think you can also call 211, which is another reliable place to go to get information. We've been working through a lot in the past 3 weeks on a lot of fronts, including the weather front. It's hard to believe that spring officially begins, I'm told, at noon, and we're discussing a major snowstorm. But as usual, we're going to get through this as a community, and just remember that warmer weather is on its way. I just can't tell you when. So thank you all for allowing me to say that. Now to our reason for gathering today. And again, I'm honored to be here with our Acting Commissioner of Transportation, Diane Gutierrez-Scacchetti, and New Jersey Transit Executive Director Kevin Corbett, and you'll hear from them in a moment. You've seen this lineup many times already, and there's a reason for that. I also want to say, as a point of personal privilege, it's an honor to have Governor Cody with us, one of my North Stars in terms of public service in this state. I also am thrilled that Senator Bob Gordon, Assemblyman John McKeon, who gave me that extraordinary introduction, Assemblyman Dan Benson, Assemblywoman Mila Jacey, Madison Mayor Bob Connolly, Councilman, and our friends from Israel. So my friend Linda Scherzer is helping organize that. I'm looking forward to making a trip. We're finalizing the details to Israel this year, which will be my 6th in the past about 3.5 or 4 years, and I'm thrilled to get there, and I welcome our friends who are here today with us. The folks up here know the issues, and they've been staunch advocates for New Jersey's commuters and for getting our investment in NJ Transit back to where it should be. And as I've said many times, frankly, more times than I now can count, and as I said last week in my budget address, and John alluded to this, getting New Jersey Transit back on the right track and providing value again to our commuters is both one of our top priorities and at the same time one of our toughest challenges. We must do this for the hundreds of thousands of daily rail commuters, including the approximately 1,500 right here in Madison every day, who rely upon NJ Transit to get to and from work every day. And this is all, let's not and never forget that this is also about the many thousands more, many in our cities, who rely upon NJ Transit's bus network. And it's about restoring pride in a dedicated workforce that has been just as impacted by bad decisions as riders have. New Jersey Transit is critical. It is center stage to building a stronger and fairer New Jersey. We are stronger when we have safe and reliable mass transit, and we are fairer when everyone benefits from the investments in this system. Last Wednesday, I went before the New Jersey Transit's board, and I'm told I was the first governor in a long time to do so, to address them. And I did that to make sure that they heard directly from me that fixing this system is a priority for me and for all of us. With a nearly tripled state investment of $242 million in this budget, Diane, Kevin, and their teams and I are not going to let things keep running as they have been. We are going to demand true value from every new dollar we are investing, and we're going to demand results. We have already delivered the first positive impact of this historic investment straight to the wallets of the traveling public, and that is that there will be no fare hike at least through the end of fiscal 2019. So that's June 30th. You want to mark this down, 2019, which is just over 15 months from now. Customers have been, at least that long. Customers have been taken for a ride long enough, and we cannot ask them to pay more right now. We first must give them value for what they're already paying, and for too long, that's something they have not received. Second, we are focused squarely on improving the delivery of services and the customer experience while simultaneously restoring New Jersey Transit's fiscal stability. The mindset needed to ensure NJ Transit could meet the daily needs of riders was lacking, and years of systemic fiscal starvation from Trenton racked its finances. And I say from Trenton, from the prior administration in particular. We're going to start setting things right. I'm not going to be able to detail every dollar of the nearly $250 million investment, but I would like to take 1 minute and highlight the areas where new resources will be put to directly improving reliability, accountability, and customer service. First, $19 million is going, for starters, to 114 new hires needed to improve service. This means new drivers for buses, new train masters and engineers, additional training staff, skilled maintenance workers, compliance and human resources experts. In short, the people NJ Transit needs to ensure the system is properly staffed with capable, skilled employees. $21 million is going to bus and rail facility maintenance, technological software improvements, and other supplies that will improve the overall reliability and overall health of the transit system. And it will grow existing partnerships between NJ Transit and contracted private carriers. $4 million is going to expanding bus and rail service to and from New York City and the Meadowlands specifically, which will directly address overcrowding on these interstate routes. $4 million is going to enhancing scheduling to ensure passengers have better communications and alerts and better reliability. And the biggest number, $148 million, will go toward putting New Jersey Transit's finances back on a firm foundation through corrective measures to fix structural shortfalls and decrease reliance upon one-shot sources of revenues. This is a pressing need. We must get this system back to fiscal health. So this is the bulk of this is straight in from the state, financing the turning the lights on in the morning operations of New Jersey Transit, whereas in the past 8 years, we've taken from various other sources with one-shot gimmicks to fund this system. Those days are over. Now, as I've said many times before, this is just the beginning of our efforts to fix New Jersey Transit. The problems caused by years of neglect and made worse by at one point a 90% funding cut are not going to be turned around overnight or in one budget. And if you're looking at how the narrative of the last 8 years has impacted our state, it is no starker than an NJ Transit. This notion of smaller government, tax gimmicks to say you didn't raise taxes even when they made sense to deliver value to the middle class, one-shots, ripping the soul of this state, particularly its progressive soul away from us. We have paid an enormous price, and nowhere has that price been paid more than in NJ Transit and the hundreds of thousands of residents in this state that use it every day. Those days are over. But we are, if we can't do this in one budget, I want to say this, we are committed to turning things around. And our budget proves our commitment to riders and to the men and women of NJ Transit who work hard every single day on their behalf. In 2 months, we have begun changing the direction of New Jersey Transit. We have installed the strong and experienced leadership that was desperately needed. We have listened to rail commuters and taken steps to alleviate their headaches. And now we are putting the resources, financial resources, needed for the long term. This will not be a one-off. We are in this together for the entire ride. I now invite Acting Commissioner and NJTRANSIT Board Chair Diane Gutierrez-Scacchetti to make a few remarks. Diane, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor Murphy. On behalf of the Board of New Jersey Transit, we are grateful for the funding provided in your proposed fiscal year 19 budget. Assemblyman McKeon, Governor Cody, and the legislative delegation here with us today, thank you for your tireless efforts to keep the needs of New Jersey Transit at the forefront of the public discussion. In transportation, the first and most important aspect of our job is to provide safe passage. It is a primary factor when we consider how service will be delivered. Once a system is deemed safe, the next focus is reliability. A time-reliable trip is essential to our customers' ability to plan their day and meet their responsibilities. I was just talking to the Assemblywoman who talks about the ability of young parents to get home and meet child care responsibilities, get to their children in a timely way without having to rely on someone to run and cover them. Train service, bus service has to be reliable for a whole host of reasons, and that is one of our goals. Our customers demand it, and moreover, they deserve it. In order to deliver a safe and reliable transit system, we do need a dedicated team, as the governor mentioned. And while we have many dedicated women and men at New Jersey Transit, they have suffered from inadequate staffing, requiring them to march double time and attempt to deliver service for our customers. The governor's proposed budget will address all of these important aspects of the transit mission. It will provide the initial infusion to spark the resurgence of this once platinum standard in the transit industry. But it is only the beginning. It is the first of many corrective steps. Governor, Assemblyman McKeon, and our legislative delegation, you have our commitment as a board to continue the hard work of returning New Jersey Transit to the high standard of quality its customers expect, and to spend this money to the benefit of our commuters and those employees who serve our commuters each day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diane. I want to now invite Executive Director for NJTRANSIT, Kevin Corbett, to say a few words. Kevin's been on the job for a number of weeks. He came from the private sector with multiple decades of experience, and he's off to a great start. Kevin, come on down.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning. It gives me great pleasure to stand before you along with the Governor, Acting Commissioner Gutierrez-Scacchetti, and Assemblyman McKeon, as well as Senator Gordon and Assemblyman Benson, and needless to say, Governor Cody, always. First, I want to thank the Governor and the Commissioner for all they've done. Obviously, the support in the budget is paramount, but in many other ways as well, in providing us the tools we need to get New Jersey Transit back on track. I'd also like to thank the outstanding legislators that I just mentioned for what they have done on their hearings and on the Transportation Committee chair, particularly Chairman Gordon in the Senate and Chairman Benson in the Assembly. They have been champions in carrying the torch and working hard to bring us to this day and to revitalize our mission of delivering reliable service to our customers every day. The Governor's budget is a landmark one for New Jersey Transit. This funding will help us again, as mentioned, to deliver to commuters a high quality of service one they so richly deserve. As the Governor stated earlier, we will be able to accomplish this without a fare increase in fiscal 2019. To me, that's important because we need to produce, over the coming year, tangible benefits that customers can see before asking them to pay more at the fare box. And myself and the team at New Jersey Transit are committed to doing just that. The Governor talked about some of the areas where additional funding will be allocated, and it is truly a remarkable first step in rebuilding what is really a hollowed-out agency in many ways. The staffing levels, it may not be sexy, but they can be restored to a range of positions critical to the proper operations of the nation's third largest transit system. For example, additional positions in rail and bus operations will allow us to hire professional, qualified staff to address the issues of overcrowding and on-time performance. Other positions in human resources and training will give us the ability to accelerate the hiring process to expand training classes for critical positions, including the engineers, conductors, and bus operators. We'll be able to expedite the introduction of emerging technologies for items like handheld scanners to improve onboard fare collection and solutions to improve real-time customer communication. The Governor's budget also provides the in-house resources necessary to staff and administer long-delayed capital projects. Other resources will allow us to do simple things like actually being able to pay vendors as per contract, helping us make yeah, it's true, helping us be a company of choice for them rather than one to be avoided or having to charge a premium if they are considering providing us their services. In the month, nearly a month since I've taken my role as New Jersey Transit Executive Director, we've had some short-term successes with regard to availability of rail cars. As part of our commuter relief program that was announced in Trenton last month, we've seen significant improvements in the number of available cars in revenue service, as well as a dramatic decrease in the number of trains operating with one or more cars short of their scheduled complement. These short-term improvements, while encouraging, it is important, as the Governor mentioned, that this is just the first step in a long journey to making the comeback that we need to make. We are dealing with very complicated infrastructure, equipment, and operational issues, which is a challenge I look forward to tackling. As a commuter for 30 years and a professional, I think we've seen a lot of ups and downs with New Jersey Transit. And while I recognize the challenge before us, I see the opportunities. Certainly in this budget, the precious resources that are being given to our organization is a challenge to our staff to show just how much we can achieve when given the right tools. I know that myself and the team at New Jersey Transit will not disappoint. In closing, I would like to thank the Governor and Commissioner Gutierrez-Cachetti for both the funding commitment in the proposed budget, but also for the support they have given myself and the team at NJ Transit. We are definitely committed to restoring NJ Transit as a nationally prominent agency it was once renowned for. Thank you.
In the category of, thank you for that, Kevin, and for your leadership, in the category that you can't control everything, the specter of the Gateway project looms large. And before I ask Senator Gordon to come up and say a few words, who's been a huge advocate of that, you saw the Portal Bridge failure, I think it was Friday night. And the Portal Bridge, in getting that to where it needs to be, is part of the Gateway project. This omnibus spending bill is due to be born sometime, I think, in the next 24 hours. We're burning up the lines and doing everything we can to get the Gateway funding as a part of that, notwithstanding what the President has said, which frankly comes out of left field and has no basis in any sort of reality on either side of the aisle. This has broad, enormous support on both sides of the aisle. Rodney Frelinghuysen is our champion, has done a great job. But we could control what we could control. Even then, we won't be perfect and it won't be overnight, but I'm highly confident with this team and these resources, we'll control what we control, but we need the environment around us to also cooperate, and that includes the federal government funding the all-important, vitally important Gateway project. With that, there's been no better champion in our legislature on transportation generally, Gateway specifically, and now as chairman. It's a real treat to ask to come up to say a few words in from Bergen County, Senator Bob Gordon.
Good morning, everyone. Let me begin by just applauding the Governor for this very significant financial commitment to New Jersey Transit. As Chairman McKeon mentioned, over the last 18 months or so, he and I have chaired a series of 11 hearings that examined the scale and scope of the dysfunction at New Jersey Transit. The objective, of course, was to try to find out what needed to be fixed. What we encountered, just to quantify some things, 200 pieces of equipment in the maintenance yard laying there unattended because there weren't enough personnel to fix them. 400 vacancies unfilled. Not enough conductors to collect fares. I mean, just think about that. When you're starved for revenue, it would be nice to have enough conductors to collect the fares. And so this budget message represents a very important turn in the road. We are going to begin to repair this organization. I hope this sends a very clear signal to two populations. First, the riding public, of course, which has been suffering over the last 8 years as they've seen an award-winning agency deteriorate before their eyes, and have felt the effects of that in their daily lives. And secondly, and very importantly, I hope a message goes out to the thousands of employees at New Jersey Transit who have been weathering very difficult conditions over the last 8 years. They are going to have to be the foundation upon which we rebuild this organization. They are a superlative group of people, and I just tell you, hang in there. Help is on the way. Again, Governor, thank you so much for doing what you are to rebuild this critical element of our economy and our way of life. As we begin to work with you on this budget and other policy initiatives, a key player in all this will be the Assembly Transportation Committee, which is led by my friend and most able Assemblyman Dan Benson. I'll bring him up now for a few words.
Thank you, Chairman Gordon. As I get to back cleanup, I get to have a unique perspective on this, not only as a new chairman of the Assembly Transportation Committee, but also as a member of the Budget Committee. As we start to take this process of reviewing the budget, it's extremely heartening to see the strong investment. When you think just a few years ago, and you've seen the disinvestment in New Jersey Transit, and you see the crisis that this governor has inherited, not just in transit, but in so many other parts of state government, you can always tell where one's priorities are by where we spend our dollars. And in this budget, seeing this increase in New Jersey Transit is so important, not only for the improvements that it will bring, but the message that it sends to all of our commuters, whether they do bus or rail, but even to those that are driving. Because we know when New Jersey Transit's not working, that means people have to drive and find other routes, and that means everyone has a tougher commute that day. So this investment not only helps everyone, it sends an important message that not only are we investing in workforce, not only are we investing in operations, but we're also helping to improve communications. As you've heard, in each of these categories, there is money that's being spent. As a member of the Budget Committee, I'm looking forward to looking into that and working. And I can tell you, I've served since 2011. The amount of communication we've had just in the last 60 days with our acting commissioner, with this governor, with our executive director of transit, it is like night and day. And so I just want to say to our commuters that are out there, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully it actually is a train and it is on time. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I just heard as Dan was leaving that hopefully a new train and a new tunnel. Dan made a point about NJ Transit, which I also want to make back to the weather about utilities. It's one thing to be really mad at how NJ Transit has been overseen by the last administration. Just an awful stewardship by any measure. It's also our right to be upset with corporate failures if utilities aren't prepared for storms. And in some cases, we saw that in living color the past few weeks. But we have to distinguish in both cases from our praise for the working men and women at NJ Transit, including the police force, many of whom are with us today, and also the linemen and linewomen who I saw with my own eyes going up to 40-mile-an-hour gusts and driving snow trying to get lines repaired. So they have our enormous respect and thanks. We'll take a couple of questions if we have time, and then we'll break. Thank you. Please, down front. Is that a diplomatic phrase? Yeah, I mean, I was on the first day of the second storm 2 weeks ago. I was on with the Senate President, and we were reviewing the fact that we could have had the exact same conversation on the day plus one of Sandy. And so you've already seen the BPU call for a full postmortem under Chairman Fiordaliso, and that will happen. We're also preemptively in this storm trying to get work to nudge them and all others ahead of this. So that includes, encouraging bringing in linemen and women from other sister utilities, which they are apparently doing. And so you have to, you could do some amount of this on the fly, but like anything like this, you've got to have a fulsome, post-mortem, and you've got to have consequences associated with that. And so it's too early to say what those are. And also, can we do business differently? There's a lot of discussion, for instance, up in Warren and Sussex County, rightfully, by the way, do we have the right vegetation management mindset? Is that balanced properly? Some of the out-of-state linemen and women I spoke to mentioned to me that we, at least in that part of the state, probably could extend that to Hunterdon and maybe even parts of Morris here, that we had a different reality than what they were used to back in their states. All of that is under review, and we will do it. But right now, we're focused on getting as prepared as humanly possible for tonight and tomorrow. Somebody else, please. Michael. It's true. It's true. So, and I forget the fiscal year, Michael, but you can look it up. We've got a bar chart. We'll show it to you. In fact, I thought we showed it. Dan Bryan can get it to you. If you look at where the funding level that the last administration, the states direct from the general fund in from the state, it was a 90. It got as far down as 90%. And I think you could look at 3 years in a row, and I'm forgetting the fiscal years, but sort of like 12, 13, 14, or maybe 11, 12, 13, where you added them together and they were less than 1/3 of what we're putting in this year. In some cases, we're inheriting a house of gimmicks. So they took money from the capital budget, as Senator Gordon just alluded to, and plugged up operating holes. They diverted enormous amounts of money out of the Turnpike Authority. This was a house of cards, and there's no more of that. We're going to call it as we see it, even when it isn't pretty. Please.
Trevor, do you have a message for leaders that are dealing with these problems with NJTRANSIT? What message do you have for them?
Well, the message generally is help is on the way. But I would also say this: we can't build Rome in a day, as I say. Boston had that famous big dig where they sunk the big highway, and it took 20 years. They thought it would take 5 years. It got so bad they hired a public relations firm, and their motto was, if Rome had been built in a day, we would have hired their contractor. So the folks need to know that they've got responsible leadership that's qualified, that the funding is being delivered from the state, that there will be no more gimmicks, that help is on the way, but it's going to take some time. I think you're already seeing, I've already heard from enough commuters anecdotally, even when a train is delayed, and again, we're still subject to realities that are beyond our control, such as under the Hudson and New York Penn. But even where trains are delayed for reasons that are beyond NJ Transit, there are more seats on the train to be sitting while you're delayed. I hope they'll hear that we're not going to be asking them to pay more fares for at least the next 15 plus months. And they've been the principal piggy bank for the past 8 years, and we're at least going to call a meaningful timeout on that. So I hope they see some progress, but it will take time to see in full bloom what this will look like, but we'll get there. Brian.
Governor, a couple questions on personnel. One, you asked for resignations of a certain number of personnel. Have any of those come through or been accepted?
At NJ Transit? Yeah. I believe the answer is yes, right?
Some folks have voluntarily left.
Yep.
And we're still going through that list, Brian. I don't have numbers for you today.
Okay. The other question deals with, we're still 3 months and 10 days away from this new budget. These items like hiring 114 new staff, that sort of thing, will that have to wait until July 1st?
No.
Or is there any way?
I'll ask Diane to talk on timing, but I would say this: the level. I'm going to use a word which I think captures the level of harmony and like-mindedness between the leadership in the legislature and the governor's office and the leadership, the cabinet level, the leadership of NJ Transit is unparalleled. So I'd be darn surprised if we can't proceed at pace. But in terms of timing, Diane or Kevin?
Sure. I think, Brian, we have some capacity now to hire. This is additional hiring. So you know that we did the speed hiring a month or so ago, we have the ability to hire. This is above and beyond our normal. So we are fully executing on vacancies, and then once we have the budget in place, which is the responsible thing to do, is we will then continue to proceed with even additional staff. So this is above and beyond. It's March. I mean, by the time we get folks into the system, on board, and trained, it will be July. So we're hiring as we speak. I want to be very clear. We are hiring as we speak. This is additional. So it's not like we're tapping our foot. We're busy working, and this is going to be above and beyond that.
Say roughly 11,500.
Yeah.
11,500.
11,500, depends how you count vacancies.
Please.
I'm sorry?
So you gotta set the frame in terms of what we've inherited, which is a house of cards, fiscal, probably physical too, fiscal meltdown, fiscal disaster. And where has that been felt the most? The middle class and the folks who grow up dreaming to get into the middle class. So we've said as first principles, we're going to get back to doing what we used to do, which is to invest in the middle class and the dreams of those who aspire to get into the middle class. That's what this budget is overwhelmingly about, which means you're seeing the very wealthiest among us, the biggest corporations, hedge funds, pay their fair share, not class warfare, but pay their fair share. And you're seeing a historic investment in things like public education, higher education, including the path toward free community college, funding, the beginning of funding of universal pre-K, and I mentioned this in my budget address, but I want to reiterate it because I haven't had a chance to since. When we achieve free community college and universal pre-K, we will be the only state in the nation to have done that. And by the way, the other tax, which by the way we looked at, we thought about long and hard, is a resetting of the sales tax up 3/8. If you're making sort of $75,000 to $125,000 in that range, that's going to cost you about $85 a year. We would say in response, we don't take that lightly, every dollar counts. This budget delivers multiples of that and into the future for that same family and their kids. So that's how I feel about it. Please. We're presenting, we don't present what we don't believe in, so we've presented what we believe in. Please. Yep. I'm going to ask Diane and Kevin to address this, but it's a good example of another failure of stewardship that we're inheriting. It's hard to believe that we've inherited the state in particular of positive train control and the lack of responsible leadership there. With that, I'll ask our colleagues to come in.
I think on positive PTC generally, we've had meetings last week with the FRA, with Amtrak, Conrail, Metro North, very productive meetings, and gone over car by car, line by line, signal by signal what we need to do. Those are ongoing discussions with the FRA. Don't need to get on the details, but I think they were pleasantly surprised with what we came with a plan of how we're going to do that. I think as far as the actual training, there are three elements. One is the wayside implementation. The other is on the engines and on the cars. And then the third is the computer systems. And on the computer systems, that's looking quite good. On the wayside and the cars, we have a program. We've started accelerating with the main contractor. We've had several sort of come to Jesus meetings, as we say, with both Parsons and Alstom, and they are stepping up to the new revised schedule. So we are now on the training side. I forget the numbers. We have the two simulators in our headquarters, and we are doing we've been ramping up on the training of both conductors and engineers. It depends a bit on which kind of cars, which kind of equipment, and we can get you the details. But it is we're aggressively, particularly on the training.
Great.
This is when you're dealing with life safety. We find the money for that. There's no issue.
Maybe do one more, sir.
Yeah, I've been working closely with the union. We've had, I should mention, we've had very positive feedback from the unions to work on all levels. They're even willing to go into the management if we can get the salaries up, because they can't afford the pay cut to go from union jobs to management jobs. So that's another issue. But no, sleep apnea is certainly is a major issue. We have a program. Actually, New Jersey Transit was one of the leaders in that program. And we discussed that with the FRA. And we're looking to see what we can do to accelerate the turnaround time, though, so when somebody's out to get the testing, that we can get them back in, as particularly for engineers. But yeah, we have a program. I can give you the details later if you want.
So we're going to conclude. I want to make two last, one comment and then a request. The comment again is back to weather. Please, everybody use their heads. Common sense has got to be the prevailing mode here. Ready.nj.gov is the most reliable place to go. Stay tuned for whatever proclamations or declarations we might or might not make later on. Again, be careful tonight, although it might not hit during the commuting hours home tonight, but be careful. It's a smaller system. Tomorrow is the big one. Pay particular attention in the morning hours, and I appreciate everyone getting locked down on that. My request is to get Linda to get her colleagues from Israel to come up for a picture with us, if we could. Thank you all for coming.